Good morning, Critical Thinking Classroom. How are you? This is Dr. Annette Feravich. I'm the teacher, as you already know, and it seems like there were like all kinds of lead-ins that I wanted to talk to you about. And now, poof, they're gone. But mainly what we're talking about is we've been talking about twin studies, right? So now we are on day number, what does it say there? Day number 9 on twin studies. But it's not obviously just about twin studies that we're talking about, right? We're talking about why do we depend on twin studies for research? Why have we become so dependent on it for research? And when you see the dependency on twin studies for research, it begins to feel a little bit about what I was just reading in the Bookless classroom about slavery, right? Oh, we need it. Oh, we need that research. Oh, we need that research. Oh, we need that labor. Oh, we need that labor. Yeah, I know it was outlawed. I know that we had the Nuremberg Code and it outlawed this, and then later on all this happened, but we need that research. We need that twin research. And so we let a few powers that be, because they're going to anyway, but I will continue to be a thorn in their side for allowing that kind of research to be conducted. And in light of that as well, that unethical research, which is trafficking in the worst kind of way, because you're manipulating people without their knowledge. And that is evil. That really is. And we have all kinds of cartoons to demonstrate the evilness of, all those creatures who try to manipulate people and take over the world, right? That's what they always used to say. So I'm going to, Simon Barr's Sinister. What did he always want to do? He wanted to take over the world. But this PBS, Miracle of Life, which I'm going to be showing you, you can find on the PBS website. So I hope I don't get hit with any of the copyrights over here, given the fact that you can get it just exactly where I'm getting it from, which is right from on the internet. I got to plug in. It's probably going to lose a light over here too. The light that's a crappy light by Frameworks. Oh, what's that other name right there? I'm sorry, I always do that. Like, yep, there it goes. That's not it. Yep, lost the light. Just slowly and carefully plugged in my computer, and I lost the light. There we go. All right. Now we got it back. Okay. Haven't heard anything from these guys, Laura. What's your last name now? Bill and Laura. What's your last name now? So I got it out there. I'm exposing all of you. Wendy Smith. Yeah, Smith, big deal. Wendy used to be Wendy Taylor. Lauren Taylor, get your wife underneath control. Your ex-wife. She's out of control. I'm not even sure. You might have passed. I'm sorry. Right there. Find out if that guy's a fraud. Find out if he's a fraud. John Douglas doing my taxes. Frauds all over. Frauds all around me. They want to be all over me. They're not. Okay. So, the more that we understand, and what a great piece of knowledge it is, the more that we understand that who you are is really, it's a process. In my mind, it's by design, right? Which I think is a wonderful concept, right? I think it's a wonderful thought as well. That you are created by design for something. I'm purpose driven. So yeah, I absolutely believe that I was designed. And we've talked about how we get together genetically speaking, right? So, oh yeah, that was there, wasn't it? Okay. I'm looking for. Okay. Now, hopefully, I'm opening up the right one for you to see, but I think that I am. Okay. Yay! I know. Dr. Feravich, you lost half your audience, which is a half a person, and all that search. What? I've lost half a person? Jeez. So this is the importance of. I got to put another slideshow up there too. This is the importance of the twin studies. It's how do we get certain characteristics. And remember, the main goal of psychology in particular, but that's advertising, that's sales, that is soldiers, it's military, it's we want to get people to do what we want them to do. That's what we're talking about. We want to get people to do what we want them to do, whether you're a worker or a child, right? Or a spouse. It doesn't matter, right? A slave owner, a slave, it doesn't matter. We want to get people to do what we want them to do. And so, what we need to do is predict what they're going to do. And then if I could predict what they're going to do, I could apply this or that to get people to do what we want them to do, to control behavior. This has been the beginning of psychology. But if you think about it, that sounds so horrible. We've been here to control behavior. But again, so is advertising. That's what Amazon is all about, isn't it? Amazon and all the advertising and all the data collection is all about getting you to do what they want you to do. That's what it's all about. It's just that psychologists happen to study how that really works, right? Was that to take over the world? Well, for some psychologists, it appears to be, right? But not for all psychologists, right? But the beginnings, I mean, again, as a parent, I want to predict whether my child is going to be a good child or a bad child, a good adult or a bad adult, right? I want to predict that so that I can, as a shepherd, using a shepherd analogy, right? As a shepherd, I really need to get a shepherd's hook, is what I really need to get. Would you believe I'm thinking of where I have one, and like I want to leave the camera to go run and get this just for this 2-second point. That aren't you just guiding your children's behaviors like a shepherd? Nope, going too far. Nope, going too far. Nope, going too far, to control their behavior, right? Children, aren't you whining or getting angry or having a tantrum or being good, being quiet, helping out in order to get your parents to do what you want them to do, right? It's human nature, right? I mean, why would I ever want to be around somebody who is constantly doing the things I didn't want them to do, right? And maybe I like being around you, but there's a few things that irritate me about you. So I might want to get you to do what I want you to do. It is one of the most normal things to do and one of the most scariest thoughts. You know, if you were to extend it all the way out to its worst end, right? Controlling other people. And by the way, that's what men have been trying to do, you know, their whole lives generally. And I don't mean, you know, young men, I hope that you're different, right? Stop trying to control everything. Now the weather, right? Which is fine if you're doing it for good to help the planet, right? But it's not so fine if you're doing it for weather warfare, which is what we did in Iraq. And it seems to be what we've been doing even to areas in our own country. Weather warfare. I don't like California. They're too liberal for me. Blast them with heat that'll cause their whole state to turn into a desert. And take a look at how far that desert is extending into the east, or going east, when you look at Google Earth, which seems to have been taken away from me. Whatever. What else? Okay. So, when we were talking about, I don't think it's on this one. Oops. You didn't see any of that. I haven't been talking about any of those. Let me get you to another slide if I can. So these pictures are the pictures. Whoops. Are you seeing this? No, why not? There we go. These pictures that you're seeing here are pictures that I got from the PBS video. So what I want to take you through is the exact things that we basically been talking about, starting with the splitting of cells here in mitosis and in meiosis. So many of the things that we've been talking about that seem to be a little complicated regarding the spreading of our gene characteristics, I'm going to show you in this video here. So let's go ahead and get started. So PBS video you can get online, and it's called The Miracle of Life. Okay, so I have to get here. Now, all of a sudden, I wrote everything down here, like where all of it is, and I can't find, I know where it is just by memory. But why can't I find it written down here? Oh, there it is. There it's written. I started looking for the number. Let me go here. I gotta find that video for a sec because I'm not finding it. And because I can't move it up. And I have to move that, and I want to move that up for you. Okay, hold on. Jeez Louise, how could I not find that? Oh, there we go. Okay. No, that's not it. I just don't understand why I can't find it to move it. So
set off alone to a place far away from everything I'd
Here we go. Okay.
ever known. Welcome.
Ciao.
Ciao.
Thank you for the invitation.
Everyone wants us to be textbook, but it's not.
I really think we should be friends.
Okay, not, where I really wanted to start.
Combinations of genes. The answer lies in the very special way we make sperm and eggs, a process called meiosis. In almost every cell of your body, you have 30,000 or more different genes spread out on very long strands of DNA called chromosomes. Most cells have 2 versions of every gene on a total of 46 chromosomes. Exactly half of those, 23, came from your mom, and 23 came from your dad. They come in pairs, where the partners are very similar but not quite the same. The only time they get together is during meiosis. Here's how it works inside a testicle that's making sperm. First, each chromosome makes an exact copy of itself, keeping it attached at one point. They condense, creating an X shape. Now the chromosome partners get together, and the 2, or actually 4, will embrace. They cling so closely, big chunks carrying whole bunches of genes get exchanged between the partners. The cell then divides twice, each time pulling the pairs apart.
That process there of sharing their DNA is called crossing over. And it's clear then in that crossing over is how we end up getting, let me make this a little bit. Is how we end up getting complex combinations of our genes. Why we have this trait from our mom and this trait from our dad that combines in certain ways, for example, to create our personalities. So that process is called crossing over. That's an amazing video to show you exactly what we were trying to show you here with not only this process, but also, where were those? But also demonstrating that this happens for every single pair of chromosomes that we have. That's the reason why in this picture you see oh, seriously, that's not what I wanted to do. Yeah, it's going to start over every single time. So I know what I'm going to do instead. I gotta put my glasses on so I can see this. There we go. This is how we are going to do this now.
They cling so closely, big chunks carrying whole bunches of genes get exchanged between the partners. The cell then divides twice, each time pulling the pairs apart. The final result is a sperm or an egg cell with 23 chromosomes, half the normal number. By itself, the cell is incomplete, but it still holds incredible promise, because every chromosome now carries a combination of genes that has never existed before.
And that's amazing too, right? This again, that's why the crossing over is so important, because it gives us this unique combination of genes that has never been seen before. And when you take a look at the actual am I getting it? Where's that PowerPoint? Is it here? Where? Oh, there we go. Duh. So in this, when we are dividing, when those chromosomes are dividing and dividing again, that is when we are getting so many of these unique combinations, unique possibilities. And that is, we can see here at the very top of this. This is the idea of crossing over that was presented there in the video. So as the chromosomes move closer together, synapses occur. And what this does is chromatids break and genetic information then is exchanged. I just think that is just a very, very cool thing to see happen. Okay, let's move on with this Novi video. All right, so the next video I want to show you is, we talked about the beginnings of life and when the egg is fertilized, what ends up happening as it moves down the fallopian tube. So I want to show you that in this video.
It's coiled into bundles. Stretched out, they could cover half a mile. Inside all this tubing, the average man is churning out 1,000 new sperm every second. That's about 100 million new sperm every day, and more than 2 trillion over a lifetime.
Smallest cell of the
And here's the
body.
tricky part. Each and every sperm is one of a kind, carrying a unique genetic package. How is this possible? How can one person produce so many different combinations of genes? The answer lies in the very special way we make sperm and eggs, a process called meiosis.
Okay, so then we get into what ends up happening when our chromosomes split and carry the genetic information. So this is the genetic information inside the sperm. It's also the genetic information that's inside a cell as well, the ovum as well, right? So let's take a look at that again. So here, what we were taking a look at is, and this video shows, which I'm not going to actually get into, is so an egg carries all of that genetic information, those 23 pairs of chromosomes, and so does the sperm, which loses its tail once it implants in the ovum and creates the zygote, right? Okay, so let's continue on with novi. I hope that was all square for you over there. Okay. Where do I want to go from here? Hold on 1 second. Not sure if I want to show you this one yet. Yeah, we'll continue with this sperm a little bit. There we go.
They are immediately in peril. The vagina is acidic, so the sperm must escape or die. They start to swim, at least some of them. Even in a healthy man, 60% of the sperm can be less than perfect. Like this one, with 2 tails. For these guys, the journey is over. But what about the rest? What are the chances that one tiny sperm will reach and fertilize an egg? Sperm are often portrayed as brave little warriors forging their way through hostile terrain to conquer the egg. Nothing could be further from the truth. For every challenge the sperm face, success is to a great extent controlled by the woman's body and even the egg itself.
So here's where, if there are problems in the woman's body, where we were talking about environmental conditions, which could be things like what she takes into her body, alcohol, smoking, could oftentimes be what is in our water, what's in our air that we're breathing, what's in our food that we're eating. Those are more often and the medicine that we're taking. Those are more often the toxins that affect our bodies.
Take the sperm's first obstacle, the cervix, passageway to the uterus. Most of the time, it's locked shut, plugged with mucus that keeps bacteria and sperm out. But for just a few days a month, around ovulation, the mucus becomes watery and forms tiny channels that guide the sperm through.
Amazing.
Arriving inside the uterus, the sperm are still about 6 inches away from their goal, at least a 2-day swim. But undulations of the uterine muscles propel the sperm into the fallopian tube within 30 minutes. Even a sperm that reaches the tube in record time has no guarantee of fertilizing an egg. There may be no egg there.
So that is what is happening here. The sperm is looking to fertilize the egg. And what we're finding is that the woman's body and the muscles will help move that sperm along, but the sperm has to be healthy and strong for the journey. But don't forget, it is your body wants to make a baby. Everything about your body wants to make a baby, including moving that sperm along to get it to the egg. So it's really without those extra environmental, we call them teratogens, the environmental toxins, people really could get pregnant like this, right? Even you say, well, ovulation once a month, there's all kinds of time to not get pregnant, except for the fact that we are really turned on by one another during the ovulation time. So it is really hard to stay away from one another. Another way that the body pushes to make babies, is driven to make babies.
Ovulation could still be days away.
I want to show you something else that I'm going to probably come back to this, but there was something else here that I wanted you to see, which is, let's see if I have it. Yep, here. I think maybe this was it. Let's see.
Up the tube, they'll find the egg. But it's heavily
Hold on. It was in the very beginning, I think. right here. Now, this part that I want to show you right here, it is talking about, so we've seen a lot about the sperm. This part is talking about the egg prior to it being fertilized. So we saw the information in the sperm and what the sperm has to do. I want to show you the development of the egg prior to fertilization, prior to the sperm and the egg meeting together, right? I'm going to add this genes over here. So here, prior to the beginning of life, we have the ovum here, right? We've got the ovum at the very top there, which is the female cell in the body, right? The largest cell in either the man or the woman, but only found in the woman, right? So the ovum is the largest cell found there. So this cell at the top here we see is engulfed. The ovum is engulfed here in sperm. So the sperm is looking to penetrate that ovum, right? And then implant its genetic information in that egg in order to make the zygote, which is our first life, the combination of the sperm with the egg. The smallest cell, you could see how small those sperm are. Just looks like spider webs all over that egg. Like give me some more, give me some more. But let's take a look at that process of making that egg. Let me make sure I'm still on over here too. Okay, I'm doing pretty good. Mastering all of these. Where am I at now? So let's get, here we go. So this is the egg, information about the egg in the female body.
Every month, one of a woman's 2 ovaries selects an immature egg cell to lavish with attention. Hundreds of support cells tend the egg, feeding it until it grows fat.
So women have so many eggs in their body, and they're born with those eggs. And then when she begins to menstruate, she begins to release those eggs. And that's what they're talking about here. And as the egg gets released, it's either fertilized or it dies. So the body is preparing to release the next egg into the fallopian tube. When it's right to do that during her monthly cycle, a woman's monthly cycle, the egg gets released into the fallopian tube. But what they are saying here is that when that egg is released, what the body also releases is all the nutrients that egg needs in order to have the nutrients that the baby will need if the egg gets fertilized. Okay, so a lot more information other than the most important that we were talking about, which is the genetic information, right? But that's okay. This process is so interesting. All those nutrients that the body prepares, all the number of eggs already stored in the woman until she is mature to be able to menstruate and begin releasing those eggs. But again, releasing them with all those nutrients.
When it's ready, the whole entourage, the egg along with its helpers, oozes out of the ovary.
And that's just coming out of an ovary in the woman's body when she releases the egg.
Waiting for them is the open end of the fallopian tube, which leads to the uterus. Its tentacles capture the egg and pull it inside.
So it begins moving down the fallopian tube. The woman's egg begins moving down the fallopian tube for the perfect
The
time.
egg is swept along by muscular contractions of the tube, as well as the constant swaying of tiny cilia.
How the body works, the miracle.
The
of
egg has
life.
everything it needs to start a new life, except for one thing: DNA from a sperm. And it has to get it fast. If the egg is not fertilized within a few hours, it will die.
Okay, now let me see. So that was awesome. And now let's go to after it's fertilized. What happens after it's fertilized? So we saw all of the eggs trying to get to the egg. This is where we left off. I wonder if we should go right there. Let's see what else.
Coating. Only those sperm that are altered can get a date with the egg. The sperm are released gradually over the course of a few days, so at any given time, only a couple hundred sperm will move on.
So there we are in the fallopian tube at the time where the egg is going to get fertilized.
If all goes well, then farther up the tube, they'll find the egg. But it's heavily chaperoned by support cells. And the chaperones are picky. Only some of the sperm are let through. Those who make it will face yet another challenge. Underneath the cloud of cells, the egg itself is encased in a thick protein shell called the zona. To fertilize the egg, the sperm must break through the zona, but even the strongest can't do it by brute force alone. The egg demands a proper introduction. Proteins protruding from the sperm's cap must hook up precisely with a set of proteins on the egg's surface. If they match, the sperm is held fast and undergoes a dramatic transformation. It sheds its outer coating, releasing powerful enzymes that dissolve a hole in the zona, allowing the sperm to push its way through.
See, these are the pictures I have for you on that slide.
The final hurdle passed, the sperm still does not thrust its way into the egg itself. Rather, the membranes of the two cells fuse, and the egg draws the entire contents of the sperm inside.
I don't know, we weren't being as careful.
So there's a fusing that goes on rather than, like it says, by brute force, the sperm in plants. Let me move on to the next scene I want.
Ready or not, once sperm and egg get together, they have their own agenda: to create a viable embryo. Their chances aren't great. It's estimated that more than 50% of all fertilized eggs fail to develop. If it's going to survive, the egg has a lot of work to do. First, it orders the zona to lock out all other sperm. And then the egg must finish meiosis, expelling.
So by locking out all other sperm, this prevents numerous babies. All those sperm wanted to try and fertilize that egg. But once it's fertilized, it locks out all other sperm.
Half of its chromosomes into this tiny pouch called a polar body. With the door closed behind it, the single sperm already inside releases its precious cargo. The sperm's 23 chromosomes stretch out in the roomy, welcoming egg. The chromosomes of sperm and egg approach each other, and then the cell divides. Since the moment the sperm entered the egg, 24 hours have passed.
And there you have mitosis, the splitting of the very first splitting. So the zygote is the single egg, and how is it that we end up getting our full bodies? It's by constantly splitting of that cell over and over again. And every time that cell is split, what you end up with is the genetic information in each one of those cells. So after and in particular here, the crossing over of that information, you now have new genetic information that all of those cells share. We are showing you only a couple chromosomes, but in there, just like the picture we saw, there actually are 23 pairs of chromosomes in that each one of those cells. So that tiny little head that we saw of that sperm fusing with that cell, of course it spreads out because it has all that genetic information in it. Of course, it wants to spread out in that cell. Okay. We're going to repeat. Where was I? I was at 2303.
All this time, the fertilized egg is moving down the fallopian tube toward the uterus. Every few hours, the cells divide. 4, 8, 16. Gradually creating the building blocks needed to construct an embryo. On rare occasions,
and the embryo is the infant. The embryo is the infant. Let me show you. how we talked about cell differentiation, that we have different cells. Brain cells are different than skin cells, are different than blood cells. Let's take a look at when those cells are dividing, how that occurs. The process is called gastrulation. Where did I have that? Okay, yeah, right here.
Into an embryo. The process is called gastrulation. With animals like frogs, whose embryos develop inside transparent eggs, it's easy to see it in action. After the egg becomes a hollow ball of many cells, some cells dive into the center, forming layers, which will go on to develop into different organs. In humans,
Oh my gosh, you're not watching that. Holy smoke, sorry about that. Well, at least I realized it. Like, oh, that's not what I wanted. Okay, let's try it again. This is amazing, by the way.
this is the moment when the cells start to organize themselves into an embryo. The process is called gastrulation. With animals like frogs, whose embryos develop inside transparent eggs, it's easy to see it in action. After the egg becomes a hollow ball of many cells, some cells dive into the center, forming layers, which will go on to develop into different organs. In humans, gastrulation happens deep inside the mother's uterine lining, so it can't be photographed. But we think it works something like this. The blastocyst creates two oblong bubbles, one on top of the other. Sandwiched between them is a thin layer of cells. These are the cells which one day may become a baby. At the beginning of gastrulation, some cells begin moving toward the center. Then they dive downwards, creating a new lower layer. More cells plunge through, squeezing in between, forming a third. The cells in the three layers may not look different, but for each layer, a very different future lies ahead. The lower cells are destined to form structures like the lungs, liver, and the lining of the digestive tract. The middle layer will form the heart, muscles, bones, and blood. And the top layer will create the nervous system, including the spinal cord and the brain, as well as an outer covering of skin and eventually hair. This is a human embryo 3 weeks after fertilization. Less than 1/10 of an inch long, its neural tube, the beginning of the nervous system, is already in place.
That's the beginning of the brain.
A couple of days later, the top of the tube is bulging outwards on its way to becoming a brain.
Oh, I think I just said that.
With the primitive brain cells exposed, we can see some are sending feelers, making connections to their neighbors. As the days pass, changes proceed at a rapid-fire pace throughout the embryo. Everywhere, cells are multiplying, and they're on the move. Some reach out to one another, forming blood vessels. A heart begins to beat. As the embryo lengthens, the precursor to the backbone forms. Groups groups of cells bulge out on the sides, the beginnings of arms and legs. This is the embryo 4.5 weeks after fertilization.
Yikes.
It is only about 1/5 of an inch long.
That's my beautiful
The primitive
baby.
backbone now curls into a tail, which will disappear in a few weeks. A large brain is developing, and on the side of the head, an eye. How does this happen? How does the embryo transform itself from a blob of cells into different tissues and organs, and finally into a fully functional baby? The secret, of course, lies in your genes, in your DNA. Inside most every cell in your body, you have the same 46 chromosomes carrying the same genes. But not all the cells in your body are the same. Nerve cells, blood cells, cells lining your intestine, they all look different and they do different jobs. That's because in each of these cells, different groups of genes are turned on. And when a gene is turned on, it tells the cell to construct a particular protein. Proteins are the molecules that build your body. Like collagen, a fiber that makes up much of your skin, tendons, and bones. Or keratin in your hair. Crystalline is the protein that helps make the lens of your eye clear. Some proteins do work. Actin and myosin move muscle fibers. Hemoglobin in the blood carries oxygen from the lungs to the rest of the body. So when the embryo is developing, how does a cell turn on the right set of genes and create the right proteins? Part of the answer seems to be location. Once the basic body plan is established, with the head on one end, back and front, and left and right sides, cells seem to know exactly where they are and what they are supposed to become. This is because cells talk to each other in the form of chemical messages. Chemicals in one cell can trigger a reaction in the cell next door that can spread to the cell's nucleus and turn genes on or off. But what's really...
And when you think about the idea that pharmaceutical companies are changing the chemistry in our bodies, you can begin to see how dangerous that is. It's affecting every cell and affecting our DNA, and it's affecting genes getting turned on and off. When you think about that on a broader scale, if I'm given, chemically speaking, serotonin or dopamine, why would my body then make it if I'm getting it through another process? And then does that mean our bodies can no longer produce those feel-good hormones? The body is a miracle, and I find that pharmaceuticals are working in opposition to our natural tendencies. They're saying something has to be fixed. So it's working against our natural body's chemical tendencies and our natural makeup to create living miracles. Our bodies, where is that too? Our bodies are made to create living miracles. I have gone a lot longer than what I usually do for this class, but using this, today was film day in the classroom. Hodison Love Film Day. Thanks PBS, thanks Nova. You can get that online. I'll make sure that I get the link below for you. But you go to PBS, look for Miracle of Life is what that is. It's been out there for a very long time. Crazy, incredible. The amount of information that we know about making life. And then think about that. Just think about all that. Think about all that. There's a lot to think about. This is Dr. Annette Feravich. Thanks for joining me here in the Critical Thinking Classroom. I'll be back probably a little bit late for our spiritual classroom. I'll probably get here at 12:45. Thanks for joining me. I will see you hopefully in a little bit.